Capitol Hill now, where President Biden has been meeting with Democratic senators to secure their support for the $3.5 trillion budget plan agreed to this week. In an evenly split Senate, he will need all 50 of them to vote yes on it. Kris Van Cleave reports.
President Biden rallying Democrats to back trillions in new spending.
We're going to get this done.
Mr. Biden received a warm welcome, but there's no guarantee the $3.5 trillion budget package will be embraced by all 50 Democrats. It aims to expand Medicare, provide a path to citizenship, address climate change, and promises tax cuts for most Americans. With no Republican support, Democrats cannot afford to lose a single vote.
We know the road ahead is going to be long. There are bumps along the way.
How significant is this legislation?
This is enormously significant.
Budget Chairman Bernie Sanders.
I think there is a lot of angst out there. People look at government, they say, you know, rich are getting richer, they get tax breaks. Does anybody care about working families? Well, this bill is focused on the needs of working families.
But can it get 50 Democratic votes?
I believe it can, yes.
With concerns mounting about inflation, the Fed chief saying it will increase notably in the coming months, Republicans argue the bill will make it worse.
To me, that $3.5 trillion that was announced last night really is the extreme Democrats' freight train to socialism.
And negotiations continue around the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package. That is seen as a crucial step in passing the larger $3.5 trillion budget package. And a lot could still change, which is why in a 50-50 Senate, people up here keep telling us nothing is agreed to until everything is agreed to. Kris Van Cleave, CBS News, Washington.
So true. So for more on this, we are joined by CBS News political reporter Grace Segers, who is in Washington. So let's talk about this. This is what President Biden sort of prides himself on, his ability to sort of build personal connections and influence people. So he's taken it to Capitol Hill. He's talking to lawmakers there. But, you know, like we said, in a 50-50 split Senate, it means that a handful of more moderate Democrats can have all the power. So how is the president approaching what he's saying? We expect the progressives to back this deal, but what about the Democrats that are like leaning in the other direction?
Right. So President Biden, as you said, he prides himself on being a negotiator. He is very much a creature of the Senate. He was there for decades before he became vice president. And when he came into the Senate side of the Capitol yesterday, he said, "Is this my homecoming?" So he really feels like the Senate is a home for him and someplace where he feels comfortable. So according to senators inside the meeting was very upbeat and encouraging. One senator described it to me as having the feeling of a pep rally, where Biden really came to Democrats and he praised them for coming to the deal on budget reconciliation bill, but also praised the bipartisan infrastructure deal. And he said that both of these are critical to his agenda, and that he wants both of these to pass and needs Democratic support for both. So he's not just leaning heavily on one. It's really on both that he sees his whole agenda being able to be approved if these bills are approved.
So moderate Democratic senators, Joe Manchin, John Tester, they both said that they would need to look at the plan more closely before deciding whether or not they could support it. Have we learned any new details about this infrastructure agreement since it was reached late Tuesday night?
We haven't learned much. There isn't any legislative text out right now. We have gotten some details from a senior Senate Democratic aide who has provided a very basic framework. So we know that it's going to include provisions related to climate change, related to the president's American Families Plan, with provisions on universal pre-kindergarten, on paid family and medical leave, affordable housing, nutritional assistance. We also know that it is likely to include some provision on immigration and perhaps a pathway to citizenship, although it's unclear if this could be included in the final bill because there are some really complicated rules related to reconciliation and what can pass. So we don't have too many new details about what exactly is going to be in it, but we know some of the provisions, and we know that it's probably going to be offset through some tax reform. And for Democratic purposes, that means raising taxes on the wealthiest Americans and on corporations, although President Biden has pledged that he will not raise taxes on anyone making under $400,000 per year.
And what has the wider reaction on Capitol Hill been like?
So for the most part, on the Democratic side, it's been very enthusiastic. Even those moderates that you were talking about, Senators Joe Manchin and John Tester, they have been very positive. Manchin said yesterday that he was very open to seeing what was in the bill and said that as long as it's paid for in his book, then he would be open to supporting it. It's just being fully paid for is key for him. But also crucially, we're also seeing a lot of support from progressives, which is really important because this $3.5 trillion deal is lower than a lot of progressives wanted. So Budget Chairman Bernie Sanders had floated something as high as $5 or $6 trillion. So $3.5 trillion is significantly lower than that, but he's still enthusiastic about it, saying that this is the biggest spending on infrastructure since the 1930s. So I think that with the cautious enthusiasm from both the moderates and the progressives, that things are looking pretty positive for now for the reconciliation deal, but there's still a really long path ahead.
So in Kris's story, we heard what the Republicans were saying. Of course, you know, they're concerned about the price tag, but they say that the bill would worsen inflation. We've kind of already been bracing for some level of inflation to hit us. Some say we're already seeing it. Is there any truth to the assertion that this bill would make it worse?
So it's unclear at the moment, again, because we don't have a ton of details on the bill. Something that Democrats are saying as kind of a way to convince people that there's really not going to be any major inflation is that this $3.5 trillion isn't going to be happening over a year. It's going to be happening over 10 years. So they're saying that could offset any inflation that could come about. But again, it's really not clear. We're not exactly sure what the pay-fors will be, how it's going to be funded. We have an idea, but there's no specific text yet for either of these bills, for the reconciliation or for the bipartisan deal, nor is there a Congressional Budget Office score, which could also give us a good idea of how much these things will actually cost and whether the revenue streams will be effective and fully cover them. So at this point, it's a lot of up in the air, but you can expect Republicans to continue to use that as a line of attack as they do everything in their power to try to prevent this deal, the reconciliation deal, from going through.
All right, Grace, thank you very much.
Thank you.